This time on Otafest Z, we have Nancy, Jay, and Angelo talking about nothing that happened this week.
Nothing happened.
Yes, a whole lot of nothing.
Nothing at all happened in the world.
And we were not going to talk about that nothing.
But we will talk about...
Nintendo Switch Pro rumors.
Yeah, I saw that leak actually. I saw it, I think, on the same day it came out. I just randomly looked up, because I've been interested in a Switch Pro.
Okay, here's the thing. If you remember, eons ago, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago on the podcast, we were talking about the Switch before it was launched. And I was like, guys, the screen is tiny, the resolution is shit, the battery is small. They could fix all of this by creating a Switch XL. And I was like, Switch XL holiday season 2018. I think I'm 3 years off.
Yes.
I think I was just ahead of my time.
Nintendo likes to overbake. We've talked about this too. They like to overbake their products development cycle. But that's totally okay because they tend to get it more right than not.
Arguably.
Right. They get it right enough to be the best-selling console.
It's correct enough
to be successful.
Yes.
To be not just successful, wildly successful.
Let's be straight here. Like, Nintendo knows exactly what they are doing. They know that a console is going to make money before they even have drawn the pictures of it. They know what they're doing, except for the Virtual Boy and the Wii U. So you know what? Maybe Nintendo doesn't know what they're doing ever.
But they know enough. They screw up less, or just less enough.
It could be one of those situations where you just keep lucking out just right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
And they've done it for over 100 years.
So let's roll back and let's explain this leak. What happened was, as consoles now do, they have system updates. And in the latest firmware update for the Nintendo Switch, some data miners were going through, and they found some information relating to something called a Switch Pro. And it's like, holy cow, that's not being sold yet. What is all this about? And so the data gathered behind that, they know, like, the name of it, what SoC is going to be in it. Apparently it's going to be an NVIDIA Tegra X1 Plus, and there's going to be an add-on chip, supposedly, to support 4K. That is kind of crazy.
Probably in console mode, like at home mode, dock mode, whatever you want to call it.
In the past, the Nintendo Switch, like, you've got your dock, you've got your console, but the thing about the dock is that it's really only a stand with a charging adapter. It doesn't have any smart internals to it, other than telling the Switch that, yes, you're docked right now. And in the past, the limitation has been, well, the Switch is only 720p when you've got handheld, but it's up to 1080p when it's docked. And I mean, there's two real reasons because of that. It saves battery power to have it running at a low resolution, but also it's only a 720p screen on the Switch itself, so why bother rendering the game at 1080p? It's just wasted resources.
Right.
But if that's true, that the dock is finally like a smart accessory, that's kind of interesting. The dock actually adding more to the Switch finally, instead of being just a plastic stand with a charging adapter.
It does make sense, honestly, to make it that way. Like why wouldn't you, sort of? But it's interesting because, let's be honest, like, you know, from a consumer side or just a user side in general, like, I don't care what product or service it is, it's easy to be short-sighted and easy to be like, oh, like, they finally did it, or like, I can't believe they figured it out. It's like, no, they invest like millions of dollars and countless amount of time to develop a lot of these things. They knew that they were getting to this point. They just didn't know when and exactly how yet. So to say that they didn't figure out, like, they just figured out the dock to be like a potential real accessory is a little disingenuous, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, so the Switch is obviously a piece of hardware, but there's a lot of software running it. There's firmware, there's actual software on it, et cetera, et cetera. It's really similar to how software development works. Usually, what happens is the person who has imagined all of these requirements and these fancy marketing ideas has a really long roadmap. The problem is that you can't make it all at once. You have all of these really amazing ideas and amazing features and amazing selling points, yes, but you can't release all of them all at once.
Yeah.
So
Technology needs
like,
to evolve sometimes. That's one
Yes.
big thing.
Nancy, that's
And
sounding
so what
kind
they
of
do-
waterfall. We're agile in this shop.
Oh, yeah. Because what
I
they
don't know
do
what that means.
is they usually will say, okay, this is what we want. Now talk us back so we can have slices of different releases. And that's probably how the various incarnations of like the 3DS, the DS, all those things had like varying and very different generations. And that's why they said, at the end of this, I would like to have a DS Lite that does all of these things, but they started with the original DS, then they had the DS Lite, and then they had one more release after that whose name I can't remember.
The
But
DSi.
That was the
Yeah.
DSi was like the original. This
No,
is
that was the
this is what we
DSi
want. This is what we
Yeah.
want. Now we want to pare it back so that we can release generations and stages, and that's probably what happened here.
And then they had the new DS.
Yes, the new
and
3DS.
3DS and all that stuff. But it's all like it has to be incremental, obviously. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
What are the odds that you'll be able to buy it?
What are the odds they'll have stock?
About as realistic as getting your hands on a 30X series Nvidia card.
Like I fully thought some point this year getting a Switch would be a possibility.
Are you still looking for one?
I have been keeping an eye on things, but literally no store ever has stock on them.
They're not. No, I've seen stock. Do you want me to just let you know when I see one?
Not really.
Are you
Not
that
at this
interested?
point?
Not really. I'm not
Alright.
that interested.
Fair enough.
Especially if
Yeah.
there's a better version coming out soon. I would.
But like I
would
said-
sooner wait for that.
Well, soon is like we're gonna say like October is my guess.
Exactly. It's probably going to be holiday.
Maybe November or something. But I'm saying that I'm looking forward to this. I think a lot of us have been looking forward to something like this, not just for like 4K or whatever, but to have a more powerful handheld console is basically Nintendo's penultimate goal, I think, nowadays in the console market themselves, so that aligns with user goals. And like they want to outcompete pretty much anyone else in the market. Like you can talk about mobile gaming all you want, but it's not the same thing. as
No, it's
playing on
not
a
even
console.
close.
And they've dominated that market for years. It's like literally since Game Boy. Like the only challenger I would say was maybe the Vita, and the Vita has it's in its own respect. It has a great library, but it was never the same market share as
It was never as highly adopted.
as a DS or Game Boy or whatever you want to call it. So
All that came down to cost, realistically.
cost was a big thing, but don't forget that like you need to like remember that the PS Vita was a very strong contender because it had strong hardware. It could link up to your PlayStation. It was a very modern looking handheld.
And it cost as much as a home console.
Yes, I believe it was like about 300 or 400 or something.
If you
crazy.
compare it to the 3DS, the PS Vita started at 400, and there was a version that was like 500 or 600, something like that. The 3DS actually started ludicrously high at 350, but within a year it was down to 250.
Yeah, and it was still justifiable because it was still backwards compatible with every DS game.
The reality of Nintendo's absolute console dominance is that they're consistently the cheapest console.
Oh yeah, it's
Well,
and
you're
they're also fun, wild. I know.
Wild.
They
Just
punch
wild.
above their weight in terms of value that you get out of a Nintendo console. Like, if you compare in the past, their online features, while they sucked, you didn't have to pay for them like you did with Sony and Microsoft.
It's true.
Now you have to pay
You
for
do.
them, but they're still quite a bit cheaper than Sony and Microsoft.
Yep, they're quite a bit cheaper. Plus, it's a whole year versus like a monthly subscription or
The
whatever.
console itself, if you can get one, is cheaper than Sony or Microsoft. And not only that, You're not tied to your house like you are with Sony or Microsoft.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
And on top of that, the gaming experience, like you were saying, is better than what you can get on a phone. The closest thing that I would argue to the phone on a mobile device that is even similar in quality would be something like Genshin Impact. And that is very few and far between on phone devices. And if you want a phone that can actually freaking play it well enough, you're spending $1,000 on a phone. That's ludicrous.
Right.
It doesn't compete.
I had a friend who is deeply into the waifu game but they only had mobile pretty much because it's not. I don't think it's on Mac, and they can't play it on Mac.
No, it's not.
So they could play it on their iPhone, and they burnt out their iPhone.
Wow.
Ooh.
Like not entirely, but like it's probably not like fully damaged, but first of all, like it absolutely overheated, which means like every time you overheat something, you've already shaved off like who knows how much lifespan in the overall hardware.
In the components, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, like that was a big thing. So I convinced them to like boot camp Windows onto their Mac just so they could keep on playing. Like I want people to play games. It's like a weird thing. I'm like a gaming ambassador in that sense. I'm like I always want people to play games. I don't care what console or PC or whatever you want to play on.
You're an enabler.
Yeah, because I'm definitely an enabler. I enable myself too, and
Indeed.
definitely like I was like, you can't just be playing this game on your phone forever because like I played it a little bit myself, and it's like it is not necessarily like super resource hungry, and it's actually quite impressive how well they've optimized across so many different platforms. It's not an easy task, but
I can actually max it out on my PC. And I didn't realize for the longest time I was running it on low settings, and I thought, hey, this is pretty good. I like the art style. And then I was like, wait a minute. I can set the render scale to 1.5. I can turn everything on. So I turned on everything except motion blur. Yeah. Because fuck motion blur.
Thank you.
And I was running it, and I was only using 70% of my resources. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this game actually looks fantastic.
Yeah. But I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to a Switch Pro. I will probably put down the money for it. I'm looking forward to like Breath of the Wild 2. I'm looking forward to Pokemon Snap 2. And actually I heard that there's one of my probably my objectively sort of favorite Pokemon generation as opposed to like nostalgia, which is like still always like Gen 1, Gen 2 kind of stuff. Gen 4 of Pokemon, which is Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, those are my favorite Pokemon games, again, in the objective sense, because I think they offer so much in the traditional Pokemon gaming experience. There's rumors that there's a remake for that coming out.
Oh, nice.
And I'm super looking forward to that. Like, I've avoided...
Are they going to recolor it, or are they just going to, like, add a remake, or...
I really don't know. I just, like, I haven't... Here's the thing. I haven't really invested in any of the Pokemon remakes in general. I haven't done Let's Go. I haven't done... the last one I did was, like, Omega Ruby Sapphire, which is actually quite a while ago now. So, yeah, I mean, why am I even buying computers if I can just buy a Switch Pro, obviously?
Honestly...
Are you regretting your choice?
No.
Part of me wants to track down a copy of like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, just because Gold, Silver, and Crystal was absolutely my favorite Pokemon generation.
For sure. Solid.
At the same time, I feel like I would enjoy it more if I bought a replacement battery for my GBA and replaced the save battery in my Pokemon Crystal cartridge.
Did you have the backlight mod for your GBA?
GBA SP is backlit already.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's also tiny.
It's technically front lit. It's not backlit, it's technically front lit.
Yeah,
Nancy,
you're right, it is.
Nancy, if I could have any part of your body, it would be your hands.
My itty bitty little hands?
Because the GBA is so fucking tiny.
My itty bitty tiny little
It's not
hands.
even like disappointing because there was a time that small J could hold that thing without issue. I picked up a SP about 2 years ago, like not bought it, but literally picked one up physically because I was thinking about buying one. and then I realized just how small it was, and I was like, I can't do it. So that's why I have like a 3DS instead, because I don't know, it just works better that way.
So I absolutely love my GBA SP because that is the first game console that I personally bought.
Aw, that's always nice.
I had my Game Boy Pocket, I had my Game Boy Color, I had my Game Boy Advance, and like
Right.
my parents bought me all three of those because let's be real, I was a fucking 10-year-old.
Right.
The Game Boy Advance was actually fantastic because it was so wide.
Wide.
But the problem with
Wide.
it was that the left and right buttons, they would get dust under them and they would stop working. And because the
Oh,
freaking
no.
screwdriver
That's
that
real.
Nintendo
That's
uses,
weird. Is a
Yeah.
proprietary screwdriver?
yeah, it's like the little tri-wing one, right?
Yeah.
And
I
so
remember those.
the Game Boy Advance SP was coming out, and because my Game Boy Advance barely worked, I didn't actually realize what the problem was until I, years later, just brute forced opening it. It was the first Game Boy with rechargeable battery. It was the first Game Boy
Yep.
with a lighted screen.
Yep.
Not
backlit
backlight,
screen.
technically front
Or-
lit.
I guess, yeah, front
Yeah.
lit, technically.
But it was amazing, and it was the
Yep.
first one. Like, I saved up my like summer job money, some Christmas money. There was like 7 months worth of just random cash that I'd scraped together, and I bought it on a
And-
vacation on a road trip to Halifax.
And
Nice.
don't forget. And it is honestly, I argue that the Game Boy Advance is maybe one of like Game Boy Advance
Straight up the best Game Boy.
SP. Not just one of the best Game Boys. It's actually one of the best consoles of all time.
It
Because
had some of the most amazing games.
it's not just about those games. It was still backwards compatible with every game before it. You could
Yes.
still play color games. You could still play old Game Boy games. It had literally 3 or 4 generations of handheld gaming on it. And and so many, like, it was literally amazing.
You had a catalog of about 12 to 15 years worth of games that you could play on it.
And of course, not
So-
every game is amazing, but so many games are amazing, so therefore, great.
Oh, if you look
My-
over
my
a decade of
first-
games, there's going to be shitty games and there's going to be mind-blowingly good games.
Sorry, Nance, what
My
were you saying?
My first actual mobile handheld gaming device was actually a DS Lite. I didn't have ones before then, and
But a deal.
but I borrowed them
Lite's
a
so
lot.
good.
I borrowed a lot of I borrowed my aunt's Game Boy, like original
Right.
Game Boy, a lot, and then I never had a GBA or an SP,
Right.
at ready disposal.
Right.
But I bought myself a DS Lite, and I loved the heck out of that
A
thing.
DS. So I'm gonna go ahead and say a DS Lite is in a very similar category because while it can't play the old games, it could still play Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah.
Plus, I remember how amazing Street Pass was.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
There
know.
was
a
it was
while-
so
Oh my God.
fun.
There was a while where Street Pass was the shit.
It was just so
and-
fun.
And obviously we live in the con, like we live in like sort of the con hemisphere, even back then. And so you bring it to a con and people were checking their their DSs. Sorry, I always want to say 3DS because that's what I own still. And that's
I
the
have a
thing that separates the
3DS.
3DS from the DS is that the DS
you?
what is arguably still better because of the backwards compatibility, and there's like certain things that they were able to achieve with that tiny piece of hardware is amazing. The 3DS is fantastic hardware wise, but it doesn't quite match in terms of just like I don't know, like a certain
3D
like,
was a
raw
gimmick.
analog ability.
Yeah.
Yes, I have actually wanted a 2DS for a long time, except the 2DS that they built that was actually the clamshell 2DS, like the style that I wanted.
Yeah.
The build quality actually sucks. It's they changed it for some
The
reason.
build quality on the 2DS, like the fucking axe head wedge-shaped, cheese-shaped 2DS, is actually fantastic.
Yes, but the clamshell sucks.
To the point where when my sister was buying one for her son, she was like, do I get a 3DS or do I get a 2DS? And I'm like, straight up, the 3D portion is an absolute gimmick. It's garbage. You're paying an extra $100 for something that he's going to hate.
Like
The system itself is built worse than the 2DS. The 2DS in every single way is a better console. The only downside is that because it doesn't clamshell, it doesn't flip shut, you have to take more care of the screen.
Yep. That's why I miss flip phones.
Like back onto like Switch stuff, I would not mind if the Switch Pro or some other Switch iteration was also a dual screen iteration that was not 3D. If it had the hardware close to what a Switch uses, had dual screen capability, because some amazing mechanics for games came out on the two screen form factor.
Yes. Both for the Wii U and for the 3DS.
Yes, like they could, if they did that, I would be so amazed. Essentially, like I'm sure that they've considered it, because it's not like they don't know that they're, one of their best selling products of all time, one of the best selling gaming products of all time was the DS line in general. So
part of me wants to say, like, well, what if they did something with the Switch Pro where the base station could talk to the TV and then the Switch itself was on in your hands? I think the only issue with that is that with all the processing power in the Switch, they then have to figure out a way to wirelessly transmit gigabits per second of video back to the TV, to the main TV, which is where your main game's going on, and I don't think that's going to work.
No. It's either that or you have a really long HDMI cable, and nobody wants that.
No.
Nobody wants that.
But no, like I said, I'm looking forward to whatever the Switch Pro is, just because even the power boost alone will be sort of well appreciated. And then I don't have a 4K TV. I don't care about that. But I don't know. It'll be a good refresh, whatever it is.
You've reminded me how salty I was about the 3DS and how wobbly the lid was when I was playing games on it. Thanks for reminding me of that trauma.
The XL is better than the XL is better.
Apparently, but I have a first gen 3DS, and it's just like when it's open and you're playing games, the
it do the wobble.
Wobbly.
I remember
my biggest criticism of the 3DS is because the bottom screen was raised. My top screen actually has like the edges of the bottom screen rubbed into it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And that is just like the biggest oversight by Nintendo. Laptop makers have figured that shit out for 20 years before the 3DS existed. What the fuck, Nintendo?
Like I said, incrementally.
I still had a lot of fun with the 3DS, though, so whatever.
I did too.
In the same boat, I was recently at a computer hardware store for some reason.
Oh my god!
And
way.
There was an ad
lineup's crazy.
up on one of the windows that were advertising. I can't remember the brand or the make or anything, but it was essentially a laptop. But you can see like how a laptop, the screen's always going to take the most, it's entirely the top half, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you have the keyboard on the bottom half, but the keyboard doesn't take up all the room. So, and there's always sort of like,
about.
Yeah. So there's always like you could call it like a rest, for your
palm
wrists.
rest area. Yeah.
Yeah. Your palm resting area. But they instead swap that over to a touchscreen sort of modular thing where they could have like you could maybe draw on it, or maybe it was like touchpad-ish, or it could be a secondary display.
Yeah, I saw that same poster.
I don't know
that's
exactly
where
how
the palm rest is.
Well, it replaces the palm rest. There's no palm rest area technically.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know how I feel.
Which,
about
like,
that.
I don't know how I feel about it, because a palm rest is like sort of necessary. Like, if anything, I don't like. I'm not going to tell them how to build it because it's weird and I haven't tried it yet, and I probably never will try it because I don't know how long it'll really last as a feature in that market. But
I've
it's
turned
not.
my touchpad
it's not
off because I know it'll suck.
Yeah, but
So
it's
that
not
would
like
just
the
be-
dumbest thing I've ever. It's not the dumbest thing I've ever seen for sure. It's just like it's curious because we're talking about like it's essentially a giant 3DS or a giant 2DS or whatever with a keyboard up top instead of just a capacitive touchscreen, right?
This actually has a better solution.
What's
They
that?
moved the keyboard down and they put a second screen up, like right below where
Like
the other screen
above
is.
the keyboard. Yeah, that's what I would do. That's
That's
I'd
also a
do.
possibility. Yes.
With that laptop actually has two screens built in. Like it's just
Yeah.
straight up, like a dual monitor system in on Windows on a desktop. It has
Right.
two of those. The only catch is that the bottom screen is like a small ultra wide screen.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a screen. I think it's more like a function.
No, it's an
setup.
actual screen.
Is it
It's a
not?
second monitor.
I haven't seen it.
It is a
But,
legit to shit
alright.
second monitor. And because of that, it actually allows a lot of different functionality. Like, you could have Discord down there. You could have, if you were streaming from that laptop, you could have, like, your Twitch and
Your
everything
Twitch
else that you're
chat? Because
monitoring
I
down
always
there.
need that on a separate
Disgusting.
one. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I don't want multiple screens on my
I
devices.
don't want any of it. I've never used a multiple screen in my life.
It is just such a novel concept that it's great because, like, having two screens, even if the second screen is shitty, is a game changer. And
Agreed.
all computer manufacturers have known this for ages, to the point where back in the 90s, frickin' Lenovo had a laptop where the second screen frickin' folded out from the first screen.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
What a little alien creature that one was.
It was so weird. And the problem is that they're always so bullshit expensive that nobody buys them. So, like, 1,000 of each gets made ever. And good luck
Yeah.
ever getting one if you actually want it.
But like the more you talk about it, it'd be so useful for streaming because
Yes.
if you have this mini little screen,
Oh, yeah.
you could split half of it to be like a fake stream deck, and then the other one would be like your Twitch chat or like a bunch
Yeah.
of shortcut buttons. Like,
Of course.
you know,
Like, it goes without saying that the only problem really with that hardware is that hardware needs to be supported by software. And
Well, that's the
you know,
thing.
they can create as many sort of displays if they want, but if it hasn't really penetrated the market and it hasn't really inspired developers of any kind to
In this
utilize
situation,
it
it's
will not.
literally just a second monitor. So
Yes,
software support
but the
be damned.
but we're talking
already
about
there.
like yes and no. I mean, like, again, if it's because most of the time it's touchscreen as well.
Yes.
So if it doesn't have that like if they're not really, I don't know, you still want to optimize it
Windows
for that
supports
usage.
touchscreens.
I know it does. I'm saying that, like,
It's just
but if it doesn't
a very
feel good to
niche
use it,
use case.
Yeah.
It's a very niche use case. Basically, for a laptop with a second screen installed, the market you're going for is people who literally need two screens all the time, but not just
That's-
at home. People who
that's
move
me.
around all the time, people who like go to conventions or just
Yeah.
need a mobile workstation, and they absolutely need two screens. That is
at
the
what
market.
point do you ever not want multiple screens?
When I
only
have to
have
carry
one
a
eye.
second screen.
when I
Is
only
what?
have one eye.
If you only have one eye.
If I have to bungee cord the second monitor to the outside of my laptop bag, that's when I don't want a second screen.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
So Jay, how many screens do you have now?
only have two.
Only two.
Only?
One for
You
each
have
eye.
Such a
I see. I see.
one
That's
for
what I
each
was getting
lasered
to.
eye.
What are those screens attached to now?
The wall via sockets. And then
I hear
the
they're
other
attached
side,
to a fucking erupting geyser of RGB.
Yes, I
is.
hear there
First
are
of
many
all,
colors all over your room
okay.
now.
So people who follow the podcast know that I've been building a computer. The computer is finally built. It took me, honestly, like a solid 10 hours to build this, but not because of the regular components. I can build a computer. I've never built a computer with RGB. I am never building a computer with RGB ever again.
I was
This thing has-
wondering if
this
this
thing has two
experiment would
controllers,
cause this
first of
reaction
all.
in you.
Two controllers.
Like-
Holy shit.
It has two controllers. I had to buy a USB header that split into two USB headers, just because that's only for data. It doesn't draw any power.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about all that stuff. That's too technical and it's all crap. It looks beautiful and it runs nice. That's all I need to say. I've been monitoring. So this is the first podcast we're doing with it. I literally finished it yesterday, or technically this morning. I've been monitoring the temps. I've been monitoring all of the, shall we say, vitals for this computer. I keep on forgetting that I bought 32 gigs of RAM for this, but the video card alone has 26 gigs of VRAM. And I was like, that ratio is so messed up because I can't tell you how many years I've had like 2 gigs of Well, I don't know actually. Now that I think about it, I think at one point I must have been close to about 50%, but now that I'm above like 2/3, it's even weirder.
Yeah, that's very odd.
Um,
Like, I remember
It
having
is-
4 gigs of RAM with a 1 gig card, and that
Exactly.
was amazing at the time.
yeah, and then if you could get like I think I had four
I think I
and
was-
4, and then my last build was 8 and 6, like 8 gigs VRAM, 16 gigs of RAM.
Holy
But yeah,
shit,
now
I
we're at
just
20.
realized something. There was a very brief period of time where I was running my Vega 64 with 8 gigs of RAM.
So you had 8 and 8,
Yes.
okay, which is kind of weird, right?
Oh, very weird.
Yeah,
Very
when you just
weird.
kind of say it out loud. But yeah, like I said, she's finally done. It's got. I have changed out almost every component in the base case, including all the onboard fans. I think I've made it look pretty clean on the inside. Like, I'm sure some other nerd on the internet can be like, well, actually, it could be better. And I'm like, I don't care anymore. The computer works.
Your
and she
cable
breathes,
ties don't
and
match
she
the
lives.
case. How could
Yeah.
you absolute
Exactly.
casual?
Exactly. But yeah, it's been good. I haven't run a single game on it yet because I haven't had time to.
Builds a
But I
PC with
will
a
be.
3090. Doesn't game.
I don't. Why would I use it to game? It's my media machine. I'm gonna watch movies, probably black and white movies. You know, at
You need
ori-
that
at
3090.
non-original resolutions. So, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm stoked. I'm also sort of just like tired because it took me so long to build.
Yeah. For context readers, listeners, I don't understand. Jay tweeted a video of this at 3:30 a.m. when he finally finished it. So
Oh, Lord.
Jay is a tired
But
boy.
I think I deserved it. I think I deserved to at least share my accomplishment a little bit.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
would you
I would.
ever leave this running while you're sleeping at night, or is this one of those things where it's so bright that it would probably
So
keep
yeah,
you
first of all, I will say that like I do run it in my bedroom. Some people will be like, "Well, you shouldn't," but I'm like, I sleep with a sleep mask, so I do not care.
Oh,
The
good.
fans are not loud. I need to tune them down a little bit lower. I know they can get a little bit lower, but they're all PWM controlled, so there's no maximum blow craziness happening.
Nice.
Yes. So the short answer is yes. I can sleep in the room that I slept last night just fine. I don't leave my computer on anyways most of the time, because I don't know. I've never really understood just leaving my computer on the whole time.
Makes sense.
It's just me. And accessories wise, I'm on my new mechanical keyboard, my new mouse.
What'd you get
new
for a keyboard again?
gamepad. Ducky 1.2,
Oh yeah.
full
Love
size.
duckies.
It's got silver switches, which means that they're about 2/3 or maybe half the activation
Distance.
of a distance of reds. So like
Yeah.
literally, I cannot rest my fingers on the keyboard
Can
because
you
it
give us
starts
a key
typing.
smash? Give us a key smash. That ASMR keyboard sounds.
Can you hear that? I hope you can.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
Well,
actually.
that means my mic is working.
Nice.
Wow. Wow.
I'm sure it's still picked up a bit, you know.
Okay, okay.
But only the editor will be able to hear.
Sad
Yeah,
face.
the big thing, honestly, that's like the most appreciable is like I did get new monitors as well, and they are pretty and beautiful and dense with pixel and speed of the refresh, and it is nice. And yet I haven't played a
Crisp
game on them.
1440p.
Meanwhile, my
Yeah.
gaming laptop's in the shop, and I miss the hell out of it.
Oh.
But why? What did you do? You only
Uh,
had it
the
for
left-
minutes.
I've only had it for a bare handful of months. The left
Hmm.
speaker has a loose connection, I suspect, because it starts purring like a cat randomly. No, it actually sounds like it's purring. It's not like an electric buzzing
like a
sound. It
purr.
sounds like it's purring.
One of
Weird.
my
It's really
coworkers at work
weird.
had that exact same thing happen.
Was it a
Weird.
loose connection? Please tell me it was just a loose connection.
He doesn't know what happens.
Oh.
He doesn't know what causes it. It just happens.
Has he
Yeah, and that's the
tried
thing.
to fix it, I guess is the question.
Apparently he has. I don't know the details.
Okay.
But the weirdest thing is that even if he puts headphones or things in, it still
Yeah.
comes through the speaker.
Yeah,
Just the purring
no.
aspect.
What?
Yeah. That
Does that
sounds
happen
familiar.
to you too, Nance?
Well, that's the thing. Whenever I had it plugged into like headphones, my headphone wasn't using the headphone jack. It was coming out through my interface that I use for my microphone, and I have my
Right.
headphones plugged into
Yeah,
the monitor on that. So the speakers would have zero reason to engage. But if
Yeah,
I
of
were still
course.
plugged into the sound card, maybe that's a little bit different.
Maybe,
But you never
yeah.
tried?
I've never tried. I've never had reason to. Because if I'm
Weird.
using my headphones,
It's
I'm
almost
using my microphone.
Like, I don't want you to be like kicking yourself about not thinking about trying that just to like help diagnose any problems, because obviously you've sent it in and you've sent it in telling them of this problem. But I wonder, like, it always helps to have more to diagnose, like be like, and also it's like this when I plug it into the actual audio jack. Isn't
Yeah.
that weird?
Yeah, but like, so the left speaker would just engage and disengage randomly. I would be sitting in the same spot in the same game, and then all of a sudden, everything sounds really loud, and the sound is really clear, and then it dies down again. So for the longest time, I thought that everybody I was hearing on Twitch was just really fucking quiet. That's not why.
Oh,
People on Twitch
no.
were fine. It was because my speaker wasn't engaging.
Oh no. I'm
So,
so sorry.
it's okay. The only reason I sent it in, because I'm fully capable of dealing with electronics myself, is because that particular chassis is very difficult to open without breaking things.
Yes.
So if it's already covered under warranty, I would rather have someone who is licensed, whatever, covered under warranty to be working
Smart.
on it and opening it. And then if it, for some reason, this keeps happening after the warranty period, then I can 3D print myself an opening tool and I will try and open it myself.
Right.
Yeah. Straight up. As someone who has disassembled many laptops, fuck laptops. Mm-hmm. Like,
I will say,
I
Just on that
hate
note.
having to work on my laptop.
on that note, I am seriously thinking that my future computers will just be laptops.
Hey! Hey!
I'm not like tired of building computers. Don't get me wrong.
It's not that I don't love PCs. Like, I enjoy the fact that they give you so much more flexibility. If you want to change some parts out, you can. If you want to add some more disks,
But you can get laptops like that too now.
Yes,
can get
you
laptops
can.
like that.
Laptops
that
are
much
fairly
more
modular. We're actually thinking about putting a new, like a second NVMe chip in, because there is a second slot in our laptops for it. And
Mine
like, you know, if
doesn't,
you're just getting a
unfortunately.
chip, it's not that expensive. The only thing I got to worry about is if the thermal pad is actually in there, or if I have to buy myself a thermal pad to stick under the chip.
Right. But yeah,
It's one of those things where you're not going to know until you open it.
I after building this PC, and I'm very happy with this PC and everything that comes with it, but like there is a certain point in time where you just like you don't need this anymore. You don't need to put in the time, you don't need to put in like all the thinking about it. You just go and find yourself. In my case, I would probably go for the modular laptop. But like I don't care if someone builds it for me to a certain extent anymore. You know, like there's some I gotta move past it. Like I'm already looking forward to another future of my next computer.
Not needing to do this.
A
Hey,
little bit.
You wanted this as a life goal. You accomplished it.
It is.
Congrats. It was
Yeah.
well earned.
It's on video and it's on the internet, so now everyone knows it exists, so you can't take
Yes,
that away from me.
everyone knows there's so much RGB in your life right now.
I don't know if I'll ever get to that point because I genuinely enjoy building my own PC.
Frankensteining.
You say that,
like the
but you try
Frankensteining.
cross-wiring everything for 2 controllers. It's the worst thing. It took me so long.
I mean,
Well,
over the course of my current RGB, I've gone from having a controller with only hardware capabilities, where instead of using the buttons on the controller, because I'd have to open up my case to do that, I instead bought some like actual button switches on Amazon. Took one of the 5 1/4 bay front panels from my rig,
Worse.
drilled out holes in the front panel, attach
my
these switches
goodness.
to it, solder the
absolute
lines
heathen.
in,
Wow.
all so that I could just control the RGB from outside the
Wow.
case, because this was great. And I had a lot of fun doing that. I
mean,
actually
yeah, it
messed up
sounds
my
like fun.
drill, and I had to have Dio's dad. He helped me out with it. He made the holes work better. It was great.
Oh,
And then
good.
later on, like about a year and a half later, I was like, wait, Corsair actually makes a module that I can just plug into the controller that I already have to control everything through software with USB. This is fantastic. So I got that. I got some extra USB strips too, and now I'm using that. And honestly, it was so fun setting all of this up, and now I can have like different RGB profiles for each LED in all of my system. And now that I have a motherboard that supports it, I actually haven't gotten the software for it, because last time I used it, it actually caused me to blue screen for some reason. ASRock Polychrome, what the fuck? But if I
Yeah.
ever feel like touching that again, I can install that and sync up my motherboard and RAM RGB to my CPU, my fans, my RGB strips. It's cool. It's cool.
Very
See,
nice.
Angelo has the Frankensteining mentality where he likes doing things like that. Like, look at in the past year, look at what he said about the moped, the car, his experiment with making his own e-bike. Like, he's that
I
kind
like
of person.
taking my things and actually making them my
That-
things.
That being said, no, I absolutely understand that, because I'm the same way, but I'm saying that because like I'm experiencing some fatigue after building this one. That's the other thing.
absolutely.
Don't forget, right?
That's understandable.
We'll
yeah,
see
like,
what you
I'm
think
not
in like
gonna-
a couple weeks.
I'm like, I need to buy more. It needs to
Maybe-
be bigger.
Maybe in a couple weeks you'll be like, you know what? Actually, I need to RGBify my room and plug it into my motherboard header. I've actually considered like trying to get RGB strips, attach them to the back of my monitors, and route it back into my case. I've legitimately thought about that,
That
Yeah.
is doable. As
Yes,
long
it's
as the
absolutely
controller has
doable.
the capacity for it.
and it does.
Ooh. Interesting.
But yeah,
It's just a matter of, do I really care enough to do it?
the answer is.
Have you ever seen those monitors that have the LED
think
strips
about
on the back, and what they do is they project onto the wall the colors of what's currently playing on your
Yes,
screen?
I so
Yeah.
want one of those. I absolutely want
cool.
one of those because it's so cool.
You think you could just build one?
Yes, I have actually watched DIY videos on how to do it.
Is that going to be
nice.
your next project now?
No, it's not, because I watched that years ago and I was like, that's amazing, but I don't feel like doing all that.
I don't
mean, you-
want one of those. I've never wanted the LED strips on the back. I'm very particular about my products in general, so it's like, yes, I like RGB obviously, but RGB needs to say over there my keyboard is a white LED, because I don't want rainbows on my keyboard.
But you can
has
just
to be
have
screen.
non-rainbowing LEDs on your keyboard as long
My
as
keyboard
they're
is a
something you
glowing
can
brick of
choose.
rainbows with the Galaxy print keycaps.
That is your style, yes.
There are
That
things
is more
need to
your
stay
speed.
in certain places.
My laptop, when it came time to like customize it, like, you know, find yourself your fancy new wallpaper for your fancy new gaming machine, I picked one, and then I specifically picked colors that I liked off of the wallpaper, so like highlight colors, and then I put those on my keys. So my
Nice.
Very
keys
nice.
like subtly match my wallpaper, and then the next time I change it, I'll do the same thing probably.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know. Like we'll see. Like I said, I've built it. I'm happy. I need to play games on it to make me appreciate everything. I'm trying to figure out what the first game is. It might be Cyberpunk because it's got the RTX, obviously.
Do
That's
it.
gonna go a
Turn
long
ray
way.
tracing on and tell me how it looks.
Oh yeah, I got it. Maybe I could just stream on Discord later for you guys.
Do it.
But maybe.
This episode
Anyway.
of Otafest RGB was brought to you by
all of it is I'm happy with it. It's done. You guys saw it. I can throw it away now and just go back.
You saw it. I accomplished it. I can toss it
It's
away
done.
now.
I'm done. I'm
The
done.
best part
It's
about
done.
the RGB controller is that you can turn off all the lights.
That sounds dumb.
Why would you turn them all off if you have them, though? But they're there. Now you're just not using them.
Nancy, I see that you've been doing cooking and baking.
Yeah.
We don't have too much longer left, but do you want to touch on those real quick before we go, but so we can get away from all this tech hell?
I think you guys know that every year for our Extra Life thing, when we're actually having it together, I will bake that that cinnamon bread.
Hell
where
yeah.
it's
And I
like
put it in my mouth.
pre-sliced. Yeah, so those of you who've never seen it, it's like pre-slicing your loaf of bread up, slathering cinnamon butter all over in between every slice, smushing it all together, and then watching it bake.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
So I
Like I said,
decided
all
to
of
do
it
a
goes
slightly
in my mouth.
fancier version with cheese, garlic, and green onion. And it turned out amazing, and now I'm going to keep making it because it makes the house smell amazing.
Oh my god.
So maybe
I want some.
next time we have an Extra Life, and I'm bringing bread as a nominable.
Can I just have
Maybe
bread?
what I'll do is I'll bring a
Can I just
savory
have bread
and
now?
I'll bring a sweet.
Can Jay have bread now? Oh, Jay wants
Yes, we
bread
can
now.
go make
Depends.
bread.
Depends on if you want to try making it yourself.
Green onion is one of those weird things where a lot of people don't really appreciate it, but when you notice it when it's not there and it's supposed to be there, or you can find a dish that works better with it. Green onion is an amazing. It is the underappreciated onion because everyone always talks about scallions and everyone always talks about shallots, and then also just regular onions, of course. But people sleep on green onion, and that's dumb. Green onion is great. Scallions are great. The non-bulb onions are great.
My favorite variation of green onion is the really big thick boy negi that they use in like Japanese cooking. And it's so good. It's just so packed with that green onion flavor.
Thick boy.
It's that
It
thick
is
boy
the
one.
greenest. Yeah. And I've been missing hot pot. I haven't gotten any hot pot because usually I don't have a hot pot stove thingy at home, and that makes me sort of sacrilegious as an Asian person. But I also just like going out for hot pot because I can get all you can eat, and what that really means is all I can meet.
All I can eat. Oh yeah.
And I don't really want to buy all the separate ingredients that much, honestly, to make it at home. Like, yeah, you're at home and you get to make it, but it's just like, bro, I'll pay you
all
the
that prep
$25 so I can put like 6 pounds of meat into my broth.
So what are your favorite things? Actually, I want to know first. What are
So-
your favorite things to put in hot pot?
The things that I've been putting in hot pot for the most part, I'll usually get those short rib strips you can get at the grocery store.
Yeah.
For it to be proper, I wish they were like sliced thinner. But I
Right.
mean, I don't have anything that can cut through the bone like that, so whatever.
Just
I'll
go,
do.
just
But,
go to Asian market.
Another thing that I like to use is like strip steak, or like no skirt steak.
Skirt steak.
The problem is like usually at the grocery store they're all way bigger than what I want. But take one of those, sear each side, cut it thin, and then like perfect for the soup, for the broth. Other things I like to get, it's like frozen gyoza. Just tossing those in there is super good. And then for like vegetables, usually it's just whatever I'm feeling. Some enoki mushrooms or shiitake. You can do a little thing where you like cut a little cross to the top, and it's like it just looks fancy.
Yeah, the little flower thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bok choy or carrots always work good.
I've never done carrots.
The
But I
thing
mean,
about carrots
would
is they
just be
take
like
so
soup.
much longer to cook.
Yeah.
They do.
But they just belong in soup. Like carrot is like you put it in soup.
Yeah.
You just
Thin sliced daikon, that goes really well
Yeah.
in soup.
I'm much more traditional in mine. Like I like the meats, the lambs, the porks, the beefs.
lambs. Yeah.
Especially the
like
lambs.
the meatballs.
The meatballs, especially like the beef meatballs. I
Yes,
love the
the
beef
ones
meatballs.
with the nice like
so
cracked
good.
pepper in it.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
then
And fish balls too.
I like getting in a little bit of the Napa cabbage. Napa
Yep.
cabs are good.
Yeah.
The enoki mush.
Yep.
And that's like honestly, that's like off the top of my head, that's like my main thing. I like having a raw egg in my dip. That's a big
Oh
thing.
yeah. I've done that too. I like
if-
having the fermented tofu in there as well, just mixed in.
Oh.
Yep. I'm down for the ferment tofu and a little bit of not Szechuan. What am I thinking of? Satay. Satay in there, and
In your
yeah,
soup or in your sauce?
in my sauce. This is
In
my
your
sauce.
sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
This-
like the good place to
and
go.
then a little
'cause-
CO.
Yeah,
And a
yeah.
little, maybe a
Little bit
little
of
bit
sesame
of
oil.
Sesame oil.
little bit.
Yep, I was just
A
about to
little
say. Yep. That's me. I'm pretty simple when it comes to hot pot. It's more like I just want a lot of the things I like.
On the side, I like to have a little bit of rice noodle, like whole fun, just a little bit of that,
Oh!
in between all of the servings of meat. Yes.
I'll also get like udon. Udon.
Yeah.
No, udon. I do
Well, that's the
udon
thing,
at
like-
the end. I do udon
Yeah,
at the end.
Yeah,
end. At the
you noodles
end.
Yeah.
noodles at the end. You once you've gone through all the food that you're eating, you toss in the noodles and they'll soak up a lot of the broth, and then you just like
Yeah.
slurp it up. Yeah,
And it's like that soup at the end is like the best because
Because
it's
it's like-
got all that stuff
It's
in it. now.
all
Yeah.
the food. Yeah, it doesn't look
All the
good because it hasn't
nutrients.
been like filtered well and it hasn't been like tended to like you would with a broth.
Yeah, but,
But
it's amazing.
in terms of like actual flavor, like you'd be hard
the
pressed to
best.
find a better soup. To be
Oh
honest,
god, yeah. No, now I have to go make hot pot. God damn it.
no, you have bread and a hot pot, and Jay has nothing. I can't eat this computer.
I can't
slurp
eat
up your
I'm-
3090.
I'm
this.
going to
RGB won't
starve.
fill me.
I'm going to starve.
Aw. I think we should have hot pot as our first gathering when we're allowed to gather again.
I'm down for
fucking-
that.
I'm so down. I don't want to get into this too much because we're gonna wrap up real quick here. But the thing that I was hoping a lot of people have different hopes and dreams and things to do for last year, including myself. But I've really come down to it where it's like if there was anything I can do, I just want a big party. Like I'm not saying I would get super wasted and like drink off your ass party, but if that's what you want to do at this party, by all means. But the intent of the party is just to celebrate all the things that we missed.
Yeah.
And like the like birthdays,
all
we're
the
talking like
duck.
everything that like it would have like every component of every party I've either been to or hosted. Like there's yes alcohol, yes duck, yes food, yes karaoke,
So
yes
we have
like
cake, we have ice cream, we have
karaoke, hot
karaoke,
pot.
we have
yeah
presents.
exactly like, and it doesn't even have to be anything major like in terms of all the other, like stuff. It's just like the components are all there, and we can
Yeah.
be happy together again. Together being the
Yeah.
operative word. But
Yep.
we're in 2021, and it's been already a very interesting week or so, and I don't think
Been
it's
an
going to get any
interesting
less.
week where nothing at all has happened.
No, not at all. Just the
Nothing
things
at
that we talk
all.
about.
Yep, just those things. Absolutely.
Thank you for listening. This was a bit of a hurricane episode, but we had fun doing it, and we hope you had fun listening to it.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.